Story time on how I was dating this guy who I thought was a cheater, but he ended up being a whole lot worse. I was dating this guy, let's call him Tyler, for like 7 months. Wasn't big on social media. He said it was toxic and was super weird about me posting pictures of him and stuff like that, and I'd be like, okay, whatever. I thought it was weird, but I didn't want to like disrespect him, so I just didn't post him. And when I would talk to my friends about it, they'd be like, oh, he totally has a girlfriend, or like he was seeing someone else or something. Another weird thing that I just thought of, he literally never invited me over to his house. Like, he always came over to my house, and I'd always be like, oh, I could come hang out at your place, and he'd be like, no, tonight's not a good night. I just had weird suspicions, but I let them roll off my back because I didn't really care. Over time, I started noticing weird things about him, like he always paid in cash, his phone was always on airplane mode, his family lived out of town and never visited him, and he barely really spoke of them, but it was just like super weird. After a while, I was like convinced this man was cheating on me, but I really liked him, so like I didn't want to be like break up with him based off of like an assumption, so I kind of did some snooping. After he went to sleep one night, I just looked around in his pockets and stuff, and I found a second phone in his jacket. Surprise, surprise, of course there are so many girls in his phone, but that's not the worst part. I didn't want to confront him on it right away because this is a second phone that he just like randomly has that I didn't know about, so I was like, I'm gonna do like a little bit of a deep dive on this man. Let's see what this man's is all about. I googled his phone number because I was like, let's just see like what pops up on him. And it was kind of weird. A name Daniel something popped up, and I was like, who the fuck is Daniel? Well, then I started googling Daniel's name, and well, his picture popped up that he was wanted in multiple states. Okay, what was Daniel wanted for? Oh yeah, he was wanted for 3 women disappearing. I literally had the chills. I was freaking out. Like, who am I dating? And mind you, the 3 girls that were missing looked literally exactly like me. Like, we're twins. So I called the police anonymously, gave them my address and all the information that they needed, and just acted super nonchalant in front of my boyfriend because I didn't want to raise any red flags. The next day, they literally came to my house and arrested him right there in my living room. After they cuffed him when they were walking out the door, he literally looks back at me, and in the most chilling voice ever, he stares straight into my eyes and he was like, you were next. So yeah, that was 2 years ago, and now he's on trial. Seriously, I thought I was catching a cheater, and nope, I was catching a serial killer. Anyways, moral of the story is just check the phone. You know, you might be catching a cheater, you might be catching a serial killer, you never know.
Hi guys, here is a story time kung paano ko napatunayan yung pag-normalize ng cheating dito sa loob ng barko. I know, right? Sobrang culture shock din sa akin nung nalaman ko na parang nagiging normal siya dito sa cruise ship, yung ganong culture. I'm not saying that it's right, but you just, parang masasabi mo sarili mong hayaan mo sila. Parang literal na ganun, hayaan mo sila sa buhay nila. So here's a story time. Nung first contract ko, bago lang ako, nung parang ilang months na yung nakalipas, parang syempre may mga nakakakilala ka, may mga nagiging friends ka, and then only to find out na syempre yung barko kasi is parang yung cruise ship kasi is parang isang community lang siya na parang nagkakakilala lang kayo, so makikita mo sila everyday, tapos syempre nandun yung mga chismisan, mga kamaritesan, ganun. So magkikwentuhan yung ibang crew, ayan, may ano yan, may jowa yan sa Pinas, or may asawa yan, or may anak yan, ganyan, ikakasal na yan, or kakakasal lang yan. Guys, kung alam nyo lang, sobrang daming storya dito sa loob ng barko, maluloka kayo. O diba, sobrang culture shock moment sa akin yung mga ganun, na parang, normal lang pala dito yung mga ganun, parang ganun. Yung mga ibang crew pa, syempre hindi naman maiwasan yung mga chismisan na parang, uy, ano yan, may asawa yan, may ano yan, may kaka-engage lang, or kakakasal lang yan, bago sumampa. Mga ganong story, guys, imagine. May iba pang buntis yung asawa, kakapanganak lang. Mga ganong klaseng story, guys, lahat maririnig yun dito sa loob ng barko. Oh my God. Oh my God ka lang talaga. May iba pang sobrang long term na ng relationship nila, and then dito sa barko, alam niya na parang ako napapagano'n. Totoo ba? Napapagano'n ako. But over time, kasi may mga friends din akong, syempre may mga kakilala rin akong pumasok din sa ganong klaseng situation. Syempre guys, hindi ko pwede silang i-unfriend kasi sila yung mga araw-araw kong nakakasama dito sa barko. Sila yung magiging family ko for how many months, for how many weeks. So you just cannot say na parang, ay manloloko to, hindi ko na to i-friend. Hindi ganun dito sa barko, guys. You have to parang practice the art of deadma. May point pa na parang tinanong ako dito sa comment section dati na parang, wala daw ba akong courage na magsumbong sa mga partner. Guys, it's not my problem to deal with at the very first place. Ayokong panghimasukan yung buhay nila, ayokong makasira ng pamilya, ayokong makasira ng mga relationship. Tsaka anong mapapala ako, diba? Wala akong mapapala at all. Magbibigay lang ako ng problema sa isang pamilya, which is ayokong mangyari. Kasi after all, kanya-kanya tayo ng reason, kanya-kanya kami ng reason bakit kami sumampa. So parang after all, nagiging normal yung cheating dito sa loob ng barko. Sobrang dami kong kakilala, oh my God. Meron pang parang may asawa siya sa Pinas. Tapos, nagka-jowa siya dito sa loob ng barko. Natapos yung kontrata ng ginawa niya dito sa loob ng barko. May iba na naman. Tapos, pag natapos naman yung kontrata, may iba na naman. Guys, mapababae, mapalalaki, walang pinipili dito sa loob ng barko. Magpa-Pinoy man or foreigner, guys, lahat pare-pareho. Char lang. O siya, ayoko kayong pinag-overthink, but that's the reality dito sa loob ng cruise ship. So this time is, I just get to ignore it. Parang life goes on. Bahala kayo sa buhay nyo.
Anyways, that all came crashing down on Friday. So what happened was I was at work and I was able to leave early that day because the provider that I was working for was leaving early, and so I was given the opportunity to do so as well. So I did. And I left and went to go get some blood work done for my OBGYN appointment that was coming up. So I got that done, and it was around 12 o'clock in the afternoon. I called Brian to let him know that I was left work early and that I was coming home so we could hang out and do something together before we had to get the kids from school. So I called Brian, he didn't answer. I looked at his location because we share it with each other just for like safety purposes. And I saw that he was at a random house in Venice. So I was like, okay, my first thought was he was door dashing because he sometimes does that while I'm at work because he's not employed and hasn't been employed since he had that affair with his coworker that made us move to Venice in the first place. Anyways, yeah, he's not working. So I thought he was door dashing while I was at work. And so I gave him a few minutes before I called him again because I thought
was shocked when I received a compromising photo and a message from an unknown number. If you want to catch your cheating wife in the act, come to Bar X today at 6 p.m. I immediately rushed there and began to wait patiently. It was a quiet Thursday afternoon. I had just wrapped up a meeting and was driving home when my phone buzzed. No caller ID, just a text. If you want to catch your cheating wife in the act, come to Bar X today at 6 p.m. Attached was one photo. I nearly swerved off the road. The image wasn't graphic, but it was damning. There she was, my wife, Madison, sitting far too close to a man I didn't recognize. Her hand resting lightly on his thigh, smiling. It was recent. She was wearing the same coat she'd left in that morning. For a moment, my hands trembled on the steering wheel. But only for a moment, because I'd always felt it in my gut, the missed calls, the cold distance in bed, the sudden work dinners. And now, I had confirmation. Not just whispers anymore. I took a deep breath, turned the wheel, and headed toward Bar X. I didn't call, didn't scream, didn't even cry. Because the second I saw that photo, something inside me clicked. This wasn't the beginning of heartbreak. This was the beginning of strategy. And if they thought I'd fall apart, they didn't know who I really was. Chapter 2, The Waiting Game. I arrived at Bar X by 5:50 p.m. It wasn't a fancy place, dim lights, sticky floors, the hum of small conversations buzzing around cheap drinks. The kind of place no one thinks to look for trouble. The perfect setting for secrets. I chose a back booth, far from the door, partially shadowed by a pillar. The bartender didn't even look twice when I ordered a Coke. No one does when you tip big and keep to yourself. At 6:03 p.m., the door opened and I stopped breathing. Madison walked in. She wore her favorite red blouse, the one she knew made heads turn, and jeans she rarely wore around me anymore. She didn't come alone. The man from the photo walked in right behind her. Mid-30s, expensive jacket, confident smirk, definitely not just a coworker. They sat 2 booths in front of me, near the wall. She giggled as he whispered something in her ear and tucked her hair behind it like he owned her. And the worst part? She looked happy. Not stressed, not guilty, not hesitant. She ordered a glass of wine. He reached for her hand, and I watched as she leaned in and kissed him, right there in public, like our vows never existed. Every nerve in my body wanted to burst forward, confront them, scream, demand answers, flip the table. But I didn't. Instead, I took out my phone and started filming, wide angles, close-ups, crystal clear evidence of betrayal. Let her try and lie her way out of this. I stayed for 20 minutes, long enough to capture what I needed, short enough not to lose control. Then I quietly slipped out the back. But I didn't go home. I had a new destination, my lawyer's office. And on the way there, I began planning something more than just a divorce. I was going to take everything she thought I'd be too weak to fight for. And I had the perfect plan. Chapter 3, Secrets Don't Stay Buried. The next morning, I met with my lawyer, Rachel. She had this way of cutting through emotion like a scalpel, precise, calm, and cold in all the right places. When I showed her the video and explained what happened, she didn't blink. This, she said, tapping her pen on the screen, is gold. But let me guess, you think this is just the surface? I nodded. Madison was never the type to dive into chaos headfirst. If she was cheating this openly now, it meant the rot went deeper. Rachel leaned back. We'll file the divorce quietly. No confrontation, no drama. Let her keep thinking she's in control. Meanwhile, we build leverage. That night, I couldn't sleep, so I started digging. Emails, cloud backups, her synced calendar. By 2 a.m., I had enough information to know 3 things. The man from the bar, his name was Tyler. He wasn't just some fling, he was my boss's business partner. Madison had access to confidential company emails because I'd trusted her with my devices. There were at least 4 other meetings with Tyler on her schedule over the past month, each conveniently while I was out of town for work. She wasn't just cheating. She was using me, my career, my connections, my resources, all while painting me as the oblivious husband. But I wasn't oblivious anymore. By Friday, I'd set up a databox report subtly highlighting Tyler's conflict of interest in our company, hired a private investigator to monitor their next date, secured a burner phone and fake email posing as someone threatening to expose them to see how she'd react, and most importantly, I made one final call to Tyler's wife. Her name was Dana. I'd met her once at a company dinner, briefly, quiet, sharp, suspicious eyes. When I told her I had something to show her, she didn't ask a single question. She just said, "Send everything." I did. 10 minutes later, I got one word back: let's ruin them. Chapter 4, when the walls begin to crack. The following Monday, things started shifting, but quietly, precisely how I wanted it. At 8:15 a.m., Tyler walked into the office late for the weekly executive meeting. I was already seated, sipping coffee, calm as ever. Dana, his wife, had promised to wait until the perfect moment before detonating her side of the plan. That moment was coming soon. During the meeting, my boss announced an internal review of company communications after noticing potential irregularities flagged by an anonymous source. Tyler's face twitched. I kept a poker face. My boss didn't know yet that his trusted friend and partner was sleeping with an employee's wife. Not yet. But the breadcrumbs were there. At noon, Madison texted me, "Dinner tonight? I feel like we've both been so busy lately." I almost laughed. This woman who thought I knew nothing was still playing house, still buying herself time. I replied, "Absolutely. You're right. I've missed you." Let her feel secure. Let her think I'm still wagging my tail like a trained dog. At 3:27 p.m., Dana sent me a video from her phone. Tyler had just walked into the bar again, the same one from last time. Madison was already there. She kissed him, whispered in his ear. The audio picked up.
"I knew my husband was cheating on me, so I, reversed him. Story time. My husband, who we'll call Steve, has been acting really, really off. It started with the telltale signs of cheating, such as him taking his phone everywhere with him. He even changed his phone password from my birthday to a code that he will not now tell me. He would come home a little bit later from work drinks, and he suddenly developed a skincare routine at the ripe age of 39. My guy, who I have been with since high school, has had the same 3-in-1 shampoo since college. Don't play. At first, I thought I was just a little bit paranoid, but one night, when it was overwhelming me, I got to snooping, and I noticed a Tinder notification pop up on his iPad. Not the iPad. The iPad, which by the way was synced to the contacts on his phone, and he doesn't know how to turn off the cloud. Naturally, I had a cheeky little look. And I caught him messaging many, many women. That is when I took plans into my own hands. The following week, he started talking to a blonde yoga instructor named Amy. She was super hot, 28 years old, and she had a spiritual quote in her bio that said, "Namaste and protein shakes." She was not my type of girl at all, but I knew for a fact she was Steve's type. Their messages were intense, flirty, and emotional. He told her he felt alive when speaking to her, and for the first time in years he was truly happy. He told her that he felt he was trapped in his marriage with someone who did not see him. Which, to start, sir, I see you every day, and I see you leaving your socks on the kitchen counter every night. But what really got me was that he started to pull away from me. Shorter conversations, no more forehead kisses, and don't even get me started on the dead bedroom situation. He was emotionally checked out, and I knew this. His whole brain was off dreaming about this imaginary Amy woman. Then, randomly, after reading the text for a while, Amy ghosted him. She deleted her profile and vanished into thin air. I've never seen him spiral harder than he started to spiral. This man, who once said that emotions were for girls, is now moping around the house like someone has unplugged his whole life and is watching it drain from him. He didn't go to work. He even had 4 sick days. He's been sitting on the couch all day, scrolling through his phone, hoping that she'll appear, and refreshes every time it hits the bottom. This man has been crying. He does not cry. He's crying over a girl he never met, a fantasy, a filtered selfie, and a fake name. And I've been sitting here, watching it all play out, letting him fall to pieces, letting him feel every ounce of heartbreak he is willing to put me through. I bet you're wondering now, though, how I know all of this information. It must be really hard to read through all of the messages, right? How do I know that she loved having mango smoothies and hated loud chewers? How do I know that her favourite film was Amelie, even though Steve had to Google what that was? Let me tell you, everyone, that's because I am Amy. Every message, every emoji, that was me. I created the fake profile to catch him in the act and break his heart like he was breaking mine. So now I'm wondering, and I'd like to know what you guys all think. Do I tell him? Or, even more fun, do I let him cry over this girl he thought was his soulmate, not knowing that it was in fact his wife the whole time?
Tell the truth, I look better under you. I can't lose when I'm with you.
This claims to reduce fine lines, relieve puffiness, and brighten dark circles. Disclaimer, results may vary depending on skin type.
I know I was crazy when my ex was cheating on me on Discord and talking to Discord girls. So instead of checking his phone every night, I just ended up downloading Discord myself. Now, I don't know how to use Discord because that thing's confusing as fuck, but you bet your ass I learned how to use Discord because I created a whole new account. It was fake name, fake persona, fake username, new email, could not be traced back to me. And my whole plan was to join all the Discord servers he was in so that I could see what he was up to on there. The thing is, you can't join Discord servers unless you have a Discord server invite link, and I didn't have any of that, obviously. So I found this amazing website called Discord. This website is basically supposed to help people find Discord servers, of shared interests, so cooking, gaming, shit like that. No, I used it to find the Discord servers he was on. I would type in NSFW, single, dating, hot, just fucking sexual terms like that. And I would cross-reference the Discord servers that I saw on Discord with the icons that I remembered in my head when I looked through his phone. And whenever I found one that was that matched up, I would join it on my fake account, obviously. And found out that Discord has this amazing feature where you can filter specific keywords or even usernames. And when you filter usernames, what they've said in the Discord server comes up, what other people have said to them, when people mention them comes up, the times they were active. So I would do that. I would filter his username. I would see the girls he was interacting with, what times he was most active, what he was saying on these Discord servers. The most craziest shit that I could never even imagine him saying, he was saying on these Discord servers. And his Discord account was also an alt account because the Discord account that I had him friended on was not this account that he was on. So I didn't even have to check his phone every night. I would just go on my own phone, filter his username in every single Discord server that I remembered and found, and see what he was saying, what times he was most active, what girls he was talking to. And the times he was most active were always right when I had fallen asleep on his chest every single night. Call me crazy, but I am one determined motherfucker.
Get unready with me while I tell you guys a story time on how I found out one of my exes was cheating on me and what happened. Let's go. Okay, so I was on and off with this guy. Sorry guys, it's because I have these little hairs out. But I was on and off with this guy. Oh my god. We're not gonna put those on. We're not. Anyways, let's continue. So basically, me and this guy was on and off, and we dated, and then we broke up, and then a year or 2 years later, we got back together. But let me tell you how I found out he was cheating. Okay, since he was one of my first little relationships, I didn't know I didn't know people cheat, and you're supposed to go through their phones, so you won't get cheated on. So I was dating this kid, right? Tell me why one day we go to the mall. Okay, so I basically call him. Guys, I look crazy. But I basically called him because my cousins wanted to go to the mall. So I was like, okay, let me call him. Mind you, we would hang out every day. He would pull up to my house every single day to hang out with me and my cousins. So this day, I don't know what was going on, but he came to pick us up. And when he came to pick us up, the vibe was just so off, and everything was awkward, So my cousins were oh no, he was oh, we need to stop for gas, right? And I was like, okay, let's go. And then he was and I'll take you out to the mall after. And I was like, okay, we can get down, take pictures in the photo booth every other couple. So basically we made it to the gas station, right? And he had his phone playing music. So I was okay, I'm gonna put a song on. And when I put the song on, my cousins were go through his phone. And I was what the heck? No, that's weird. And they were no, go through his phone, go through his phone. And then out of nowhere, he got a notification on Instagram. So while I'm telling them no, he gets a message from a girl on Instagram. And they were fuck that, go through it. mind you, these are my two boy cousins. Like I didn't think anything about it, but they were like, no, go through his phone right now. So I got his phone and we go on Instagram, right? We click on Instagram. This boy had 2 accounts, okay? I didn't know that. I've never seen this boy's phone, so I never even knew that. So here it goes. So we're literally going through it, right? Us 3, them in the back and me in the front, while this guy is getting gas or something. I don't know what took him so long, but he took forever. So like I'm reading the messages with these girls, like, oh my god, it was girl after girl after girl. So we're just reading it, me and my cousins, and they're like, he ain't shit, fuck him, this and that. And at that point I didn't even want to go to the mall no more. But since like I told my cousins we were gonna go, like I was like, alright, bet, like let's just go, fuck it. So then he comes back in the car and we just like pretend like nothing happened. You know, like I was just like, whatever, like I'm just gonna like play my part, like I'm gonna do him worse. So my cousins are acting normal, we're all acting normal, like we didn't see anything. And we get to the mall, right? And mind you, like I remember what this girl looked like because I just looked at her Instagram and they were texting like, when am I gonna see you, da 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 da, you know. So since my cousins were like act normal, I was like, okay, like bet. So I tell him, I'm like, come, like let's go. And then he was like, I'm not feeling good, like I just want to be alone, like I'm gonna take some time in the car and then I'm gonna get off and go walk around with you guys. So I was like, okay, like that's fine, you know, like because he had issues with his dad and stuff. So I was like trying to understand him, like I was like, okay, that's fine. So me and my cousins like get off of the car, and when we pulled up, there was this girl sitting down at this table, okay? She was sitting down and me and my cousins looked at her and I was like, damn, like she's pretty. And like I didn't think anything about it, like I didn't like really pay attention like that. So we go in, we're walking around, me and my cousins just living our best lives while he's outside, right? And then out of nowhere, like he starts lagging on me and ignoring me. So like I was like, what the heck? So like the whole time he's just saying like, I need time to myself and this and that. So I was like, okay, whatever. So me and my cousins went, we enjoyed our time at the mall, like, and then I texted him when we were done. Okay, so tell me why when we were walking out, the same girl was like walking back from being like in the parking lot, basically where his car was. So I was like, what the heck? So I started staring at this girl longer, and tell me why, she was the girl that he was texting. It was literally him, bro. So I was like, and like my cousins being my cousins, like they were like, nah bro, he was definitely doing something with her right now. And me being dumb, I was like, no he wasn't. Bro, we get back in the car and this was like sweating and like the car was hot and stuff. So my cousins just look at me like, and I was like, whatever. So then we go to the store or the taco shop or something. And and he got off again and he left his phone. Bro, she texted him saying like, oh, I had a great time, this and that. Bro, they in the car while I was in the mall with my cousins, bro. So at that time, bro, I'm just freaking out because like, what the heck? He just got nasty while we were in the freaking mall. So my cousins are in the back like, he ain't shit, like he's a beach and this and that and this and that. And I was like about to start crying. So we go home and we pretend like nothing happened, okay? So then, tell me why one day I hung out with one of his homies, and I guess his homie, like, not on no weird shit, like we hung out, my homegirl, me and him and his homeboy, basically like a little 2 thing. So we went to his house, we hung out and stuff, and tell me why I guess they had a problem or something, because the next day he texted me saying like, oh, do you want his account, because I have it and I be seeing what he be doing to you and you don't deserve that. So I was like, yes, give me that account, da da da. So I got it, bro, and there was hella bitches in there, bro, like back to back. So I'm just like, bruh, like nah. So then I turned off my location and everything. He did it too. I guess this was paused and I never even paid attention. Okay, so like I did know what cheating was because like I got cheated on before him, but he was so ugly that I didn't think he would do me like that. So if you think your boyfriend, well, like not your boyfriend, but like if you think an ugly guy will not cheat on you, he will cheat on you no matter how ugly he is, bro. So basically, the end of the story, like I just blocked him on everything, and then like I told him what I seen, and he was just like trying to cry to me, saying I'm sorry and this and that. This fool, bruh, he moved away. Like he's pussy. Oh wait, I can't say that, but he's a chicken. He moved away because he knew he had issues coming to him for trying to play me. Mind you, this guy used to like slap me and shit, and I would let him. I'm dumb. Don't ever let your boyfriend or anybody. So basically, after that, like before he moved, he see me one more time at the mall. He was like trying to follow me. He was begging me to take him back, and I was like, boy, bye. And I was with one of my homeboys, and he was trying to fight him, and I was like, bro, you're embarrassing. Like, go away. But yeah, basically that's the end of this Get Unready With Me and story time, because there's more to what he did, but like not as like he did do other stuff, but that was like the main thing that made me like deuces. But yeah, so let me know if y'all want more story times, because a lot of shit has happened in my life, so let me know. So this is how I look busted up, but I'm gonna go to sleep. I love y'all. I hope y'all enjoy this story time.
My husband said he was going out of town for a work conference. I sneaked in on him packing. He ain't packed nothing but Nike outfits and cologne. So he hits me with this whole speech. He was like, babe, my job picked me for this exclusive leadership retreat. He was telling me how he was going to be gone for 3 days and he won't have any signal, just work stuff. Even made a fake itinerary. He literally printed it off of Canva. I didn't argue with him. I just kissed him and I was like, okay, baby, just take care of business. But let me tell y'all, baby, God don't sleep. Why 2 days in his trip, I was scrolling on my Explore page on Instagram and the girl that I don't even follow pops up. So out of curiosity, I click on it. And I'm on her page and she low-key posting soft lunch pics and videos. Baby, she posting a man arm, 2 wine glasses, a hotel balcony. I did what any woman with common sense and pettiness in her spirit would do. Baby, I booked me a one-way flight, had me a red dress, and pulled up to the hotel. I walk in the lobby, and guess who I seen at the bar? Him and her just laughing, kiki and ha-ha. And y'all wanna know what I did? I'ma always keep it cute. I'm never gonna do the most. I walked up to them. I tapped her on the shoulder. I said, sis, I hope you enjoyed your little getaway that I paid for. So, baby, she went and checked on out, and, baby, he's still trying to check in.
How many of you have gone to sleep one night only to wake up the next morning to find out your partner, in my case, my husband, has been living a double life and you never had a clue? I found out about this on Wednesday, March 18th, 2009. That was the first time that I discovered I was married to someone living a secret double life. And I'm excited to tell the story to you of how it was revealed to me and everything that happened in the ensuing days, months, and years after discovering this. I do have to say and preface this with, it's a whole lot more than just the fact that I thought I was worth $10 million and discovered I was actually penniless. So on March 18th, I was headed out on an errand when my phone rang. It was my ex-husband calling, telling me that he was hoping to spend some time with me that morning. So I turned the car around and met him at our motorhome. Now, he told me later that it was intentional that he had me meet him at our motorhome because he knew I hated the motorhome. I hadn't wanted it. I didn't think it was necessary. I thought it was another one of his frivolous, excessive purchases. But we owned it. He wanted to have a chat with me. So he asked me to meet him at the motorhome, and I did. We sat down at the kitchen table of the motorhome, and he destroyed my world. He also told me later that he had planned that day, that moment, for over 1 year. So I walk in, I sit down at the kitchen table in the motorhome, and he had been on the phone. He ended his phone conversation, sat down, and told me that he wanted to talk to me about his company, Market Street Advisors. This was his full-time job. It was his investment company that he owned and ran. And he said, I need to tell you that my company, Market Street Advisors, is a sham, and it has been from the very beginning. I've actually been running a Ponzi scheme. It's hard to even breathe when I think back to that moment and being told that particular sentence. I honestly wasn't too sure what a Ponzi scheme was. I knew it was an illegal thing to do, but I hadn't paid much attention to Ponzi schemes beyond that. He then proceeded to tell me that 2 days before, on Monday, March 16th, he had hired an attorney. That on Tuesday, March 17th, St. Patrick's Day, ironically, that was the day I took the last family pictures of the family as I knew it, only I didn't know those were the last pictures I would ever take of our family. But anyway, on Tuesday, he, in the company of his attorney, had turned himself in to federal authorities, representatives of the U.S. government, and revealed his crimes. Later that night, while we were gathered at the TV as a family watching American Idol, he got up in the middle of the show, announced that he had to go to a meeting with our church leaders. He left for a period of time, came back while the show was still on, sat down, continued watching American Idol with us, and when I asked how his meeting had gone, he told me fine, and went to bed that night thinking everything was normal. And then on that morning, Wednesday, March 18th, that was the date that all of those people had given him to tell me. So I was the fourth reveal, the fourth conversation or party that he told. And I can guarantee sometimes the wife really is the last to know. That's exactly what happened in my case. So he's destroyed my world. My mind is reeling. None of this seems real to me. And he proceeded to tell me that all of our assets were frozen and scheduled for seizure by the federal government. He told me that he anticipated being charged within 7 days, sentenced within a month, and taken into custody within 6 to 7 weeks. And following all of that, he anticipated serving a sentence of 5 to 7 years in federal prison. When he uttered the words prison, I cannot even describe how that felt or what I was thinking. My mind was reeling. I didn't know how I was going to live or support my family or anything. I did hear the word prison, but I remember thinking and saying to him, oh my gosh, well, thank goodness the house is paid off. At least the kids and I will have a place to live. And when I expressed that out loud to him, he said, no, you don't understand. The house is gone. The cars are gone. The savings and investments are gone. Everything is gone. And then he reminded me that everything would be seized by the federal government and would go toward paying restitution to the victims of his crimes. So at the same time that my mind is reeling and I'm feeling shock and horror and disbelief, there is just a part of me centered in darkness. I just could not comprehend. It felt like I didn't even understand English. I just kept trying to process it, and it wasn't working. I also kept thinking, he's got to be joking. This can't be real. No way is any of this true. He'd always kind of been an absent-minded professor, forgetful about names or dates. Even once on a cruise in October, I had had a beautiful cake delivered to me with all of the wait staff congratulating me on my anniversary, only our anniversary was in August. And I reminded my ex-husband of that, and he looked at me stunned and in shock, thinking, wait, well, what have I forgotten? This is for your birthday then. And I reminded him, no, my birthday is also in August. So he was just forgetful about some things. So the whole time he's telling me this, I keep thinking, this has to be a joke. This has to be an April Fool's joke. April Fool's Day is only a few weeks away. He's always confused about the calendar. This has to be a prank, but this is so not funny. He is not being very funny right now. I also remember asking about one client in particular, the father of one of my really good friends that I had known since college, even longer than I had known my ex-husband. I knew that that particular person had invested money with him a few months earlier, maybe up to a year earlier, and I was worried about them, worried about that money. And I remember asking, well, what's their situation? How are they? How could you do that to them? And he assured me they would be fine, that there would be restitution. And then, despite all of that, somehow, despite all of the shock and horror, a small yet insistent voice in my head was strongly speaking to my mind. Is that all? Ask him, is that all? Is there more? Is that all? Ask, ask. I felt like a fool because I couldn't really imagine what else there could be. I mean, wasn't a secret double life of crime enough? My mind just would not stop reeling. But I listened to that insistent voice and repeated the question out loud. Is that all? I don't know that I was even expecting an answer, but I got one, and it wasn't all. He shook his head no, and then he revealed that in addition to running a Ponzi scheme and defrauding the world, he had also hired call girls. Now, if crime hadn't blindsided me enough, for some reason, the infidelity shocked me as much or more than approximately his 15 years of crime. I still think I couldn't believe any of it or comprehend any of it, but then he started to cry. And I'm not sure if I'd ever seen him cry before. And that's when it hit me. This was real. He wasn't joking. My life was suddenly a nightmare. This cannot be happening. This cannot be me. This cannot be my life. It felt like the walls and the world was closing in on me, and I had to get away.
Myself as an equal opportunist. So let's talk about the time that I cheated. Now, I may be a little biased, but the circumstances were way different. But regardless, I'm gonna let you guys be the judge and the jury. I met my ex on season 1 of Ex on the Beach, and even though our relationship was rocky from the start, I had a lot of love for him. So much love that I gave up my entire life in New Jersey and drove all the way across the country to live with him in LA. Looking back, we definitely rushed into things, but of course, hindsight is 2020. Not to mention, he was less than honest about his finances and his living situation. But again, I was in love, so I was doing anything to make it work. And then things went from bad to worse when I got called for the challenge and he didn't. It was always his dream to be on the challenge, and everyone thought he was a front runner, and then I got cast. So he started to treat me even worse. It got so bad that I was crying myself to sleep every single night. And still, I really wanted to make it work. But the closer I got to my departure date, the worse he treated me. But it didn't hit me until a week before I was leaving that I wanted out of this relationship. But it's not like I could just pick up and leave and drive across the country. I was leaving for another show in a few days. And this is where I made my first mistake. Fun fact, when you film the challenge, you have to assign a social surrogate to take over your Instagram and any other social media accounts you may have to post as if you're still home. And if you don't assign a surrogate, you are not allowed to post anything until the last day of filming, so nobody knows when you're eliminated. So who do you think I made my surrogate? In my defense, I had very limited options. My mom didn't understand social media like that, and silly me thought I could trust the man that I was sleeping with every single night. I also gave him the password to my PayPal account to transfer funds as brands paid me. Again, very stupid on my part, but at this time I was living paycheck to paycheck, and again, he was the only person I thought I could trust. I also paid my rent 3 months in advance so he wouldn't have to pay my part while I was gone. Just all so dumb of me. Very, very dumb. But still, I had hope that we could work it out, and maybe we just needed this separation to realize how much we love and care about each other, and when we come home, we'll be a completely different couple. So I left all of my belongings, my car, my socials, my PayPal, all in his hands and left to go film the challenge. And it didn't take me long to start missing him because the cast wasn't that welcoming to me. The women specifically isolated me, and funny enough, they did this to one of my male castmates as well. And what happens when you put two people in a corner together? So over the course of the next few weeks, I got really close with this male cast member. And one night under the South African stars, we kissed. Like straight up caught in 4K. But instant karma hit me like a ton of bricks because I was eliminated the very next night. However, with the Redemption House twist, I did not go home for another week. I wasn't sure who knew about me and this person's kiss, but I got paranoid really quick. Because I didn't get along with anyone, I thought for sure someone was gonna go home or find a way to tell my boyfriend at the time that I cheated. Baby, I was ready to go home. And not because I wanted things to work with him, I really just wanted to pack up my stuff and leave and move back home. Me and my partner wound up getting sent home from the Redemption House, and I was about to be back in LA. Like, no more Redemption House, we were done with the game. So the first thing I did when I got my phone back was change all of my passwords, obviously. Then I checked my PayPal account and realized that my ex had stolen from me. That's a different story for a different day. Let's push on. Instead of transferring the funds I received from brands into my PayPal account, he transferred them into his. And my heart sank. I fell to the floor in my hotel room. He, of course, was the first call I made when I got my phone, and when he picked up, his eyes lit up and he just looked so happy to see me. And even though I knew that he stole from me, I felt really, really guilty for what he was about to find out. But I could also tell he had no idea what went down, so I was relieved. Now I just needed to get to LA and get my stuff out of his apartment and drive across the country before he found out. But MTV had different plans for me because even before I left from South Africa, I got a call from the head of talent at MTV saying that they wanted me as a guest on TRL in New York, so I would only be in LA for less than 12 hours before having to fly out. And who's gonna pass up TRL, you know? So after 25 plus hours traveling from South Africa to LA, I had to hop on a red eye from LA to New York, and then came back a day later. And still he had no idea. 2 days later was the premiere of our show, which we watched together with another one of our castmates who happened to be my best friend. And that's when I made the mistake of telling my best friend that I cheated, because then she went and told her boyfriend, who was best friends with my boyfriend, and that's how he found out. But luckily, by the grace of God, I was already halfway across the country, baby. And that marked the end of my relationship and my friendship. Me and my ex went on to film Ex on the Beach season 2, and that was our storyline. Me cheating on him and him stealing from me opened up so many doors in the weirdest way. Would I cheat on anyone else ever again? No. Would I cheat on him again if I had the chance? Absolutely!
My ex-boyfriend always knew that I wanted to be a young mom. We both started dating when we were 22. He also knew that one of my biggest fears was to be a single mother. And I think this is a legitimate fear to have, right? He also wanted to be a father, so this was not just my decision. I basically got pregnant a year after we started dating. I heard a lot of people's relationships get tested once you have a child, and ours definitely did get very challenged. He excused himself saying that he was working more, but I had my doubts. But I also didn't want to be a crazy girlfriend and check his phone and do all of that. I just wanted to trust him. Even though, like I said, I could sense that something was wrong. But I guess maybe I was trying to protect myself and ignore it. Basically, I never snooped through anything. I didn't intend on finding anything out. There's just one random day where he's working and I'm at home taking care of our daughter, and I get sent, anonymously by the way, texts and videos. It was pretty traumatic. It was 2 short videos, and it was of him and the girl he was cheating on me with. And I know he didn't send them, right? So she's the only one that could have sent those. It was basically them having in the car. I wait for him to get home and I confront him about it. Since I said that my biggest fear is being a single mother, I was willing to forgive him. I was so devastated, but in the back of my head I was like, okay, I want him to explain what this is to me, even though the proof is just so evident. So he comes, I'm bawling, I'm showing him what I just got sent, and I'm asking, who sent this to me? He starts crying too. He says that she was the one who probably sent those. I was like, okay, what a surprise, right? I didn't know this girl. He told me that she was also a single mother. He also said that he couldn't promise me that he would leave her because he didn't know which one of us he liked more. Yeah, you can guess how horrific this was to hear. So after hearing this, I didn't care, like I couldn't be with him still. And I know that they're in a relationship because we share custody, so I know what's going on in his life. But yeah, there's no way I'm ever allowing my daughter to go anywhere near that sick girl.
My boyfriend was trying to cheat on me, and this is how I found out. It always is the phone. I was in a very toxic relationship and was obsessed with checking the phone. He also was obsessed with checking my phone. So I always thought, okay, he's very loyal to me. His phone was always clean. And trust me, I was going through that phone very regularly. So there was this one night that we were on the couch, we were watching TV, and I asked to see something on his phone because my phone is dead and it's charging, and so he hands me his phone like normally, like he always does. My phone is not even in the living room, it's charging in the kitchen. And I'm with his phone on my hands. But then I hear a phone buzzing. It is not mine. It is not his. What phone is this? His whole face turns pale, and we both realize, he realizes that I'm about to find everything out, and I realize that the phone that's buzzing is coming out of his pants. And he looks at me, we're both looking at each other. He has no reaction in his face. I'm like, what phone do you have? I kid you not, he gets up and he starts running. He starts running and he locks himself in the bathroom. I don't really have to be that smart to know that with this reaction, he's obviously hiding and he has a second phone. I thought I was so smart, right? I thought I was so smart. I had like all these checkups on his phone. I was like, my boyfriend is always clean. And he had a whole different phone. He panicked so hard and he locks himself in the bathroom, but he doesn't remember that there's a spare key. I immediately go and run to the kitchen to grab the spare key. I walk into the bathroom and I just snatch the phone out of his hands. I immediately run out of the house to go into my car and I lock the car, and that's where I see everything. I mean, on this phone, nothing is hidden. Like, the amount of things that I found, I had a whole different Instagram account, like a fake Instagram account where he messaged dozens of girls. When you get cheated, you just feel so stupid. You feel like, how did I miss this out? I thought I was so smart checking his phone always, and then like he outsmarted me. He's like knocking on the window. He eventually just sits down next to the car. The most embarrassing things, I think, is that on that phone I just saw that he was getting rejected left and right. I don't know what it's worse, to actually get cheated on or to know that your boyfriend was trying to cheat on you but girls were rejecting him. I'm still with his phone and I just drive off. I drive to my mom's house, and I've heard some horror stories about people that have caught serious diseases from their cheating boyfriends, and the most disrespectful thing you can do to someone is cheat on them. He did try to contact me, obviously, but not for the reasons you would think. I told my mom to talk to him because I didn't want to even like hear his voice, and he told my mom, you have to come pick up your daughter's stuff because I have another girlfriend and she is going to move in. I don't know, but anyways, my mom went and picked all of my stuff up from that house, and I'm never gonna see him again.
So, there I was last Friday, sitting alone at the bar, nursing my whiskey, and waiting for my partner to show up. Our relationship was on the rocks, and we had agreed to meet to try and sort things out. The minutes ticked by, and they were a no-show. Annoyed, I decided to leave, but as I was walking out, I spotted them at a booth at the back. With someone else. And not just anyone else, my best friend. I felt my heart drop into my stomach. The sight of them laughing, their hands intertwined, it was like a punch in the gut. I didn't know what to do, so I just stood there, frozen in shock. Then I did something I never thought I would, I confronted them. I stormed over, heart pounding, and confronted them both. My partner looked shocked, my friend guilt-ridden. But things took an even darker turn when my partner spoke up. Apparently, they had been seeing each other for months. Months. I had been played for a fool. I felt a bitter mix of betrayal and anger surge through me. I left the bar, leaving them behind to deal with the mess they had created. But the twist? On my way home, the realization hit me. I wasn't as upset as I thought I'd be. In fact, part of me felt relieved. Like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. It was then that I realized that I had been holding on to a relationship that was long dead. I was more upset about losing my best friend than my partner. It was a shocking revelation, but one that made me realize the truth. I had fallen out of love a long time ago. I just didn't want to admit it to myself.
Here's how I found out my ex was cheating. Again. So Matt used to stream on Twitch, and usually I was his only audience. So one day he's streaming Resident Evil, and there's actually 4 other people watching him stream this time, and I can't see any of these other users, but someone leaves a comment. And this comment's like, hey handsome, with like a smirky face emoji, and I was like, oh. And Matt, I hear him immediately gasp, and he cuts the stream, immediately ends it. No outro, no goodbye, nothing. He just ends the video. I thought, that was a little bit weird. So I confronted him about it at work the next day. I was like, why'd you abruptly end your stream? And he was like, oh, my mom called me. Like, dude, I know you're a mama's boy and I get serious Oedipus vibes between you and your mom, but I'm not buying that. So I remembered that username, and it's a nickname of a female name, so immediately I knew it was a girl, and we're gonna call her Megan. So I remembered this username, right? And I go look her up, and I search her in his Xbox friends, and lo and behold, they are mutual friends on Xbox. And I thought that was really weird because Matt and I would play Xbox, but he always refused to add me as a friend. But he has no problem adding this Megan girl as a friend. Weird. I do a little bit more investigating and I find that they are unlocking the same achievements on the same day to the same games. Dude, you know what they were fucking playing? They were playing It Takes Two. They were unlocking achievements to It Takes Two. If you don't know, that's a couples game. That's a couples game. It's a co-op couples game. I didn't know it at the time because I never had played it before, but I was like, I did some research about what that game is and everybody online was saying it's a couples game. You know, along with some other things like Battlefield 5 and whatever, Terraria, whatever shit that else they were playing. I didn't care. But I don't say anything to him right away. I instead just decide to watch and observe for a little while. So I'm watching and I'm observing, time goes on. It is a consistent pattern. Every single time he's off from work, he's playing a video game with this Megan girl. Every time he goes no contact with me because he's off from work, he's playing with Megan. Eventually, I confront him about this. Eventually, I'm like, so who's this Megan girl? I see you're playing video games with her all the time when you're off and you don't talk to me. So who's this girl? And she was in your live stream. She's your friend on Xbox and you're playing video games with her. So like, what's the deal? He was like, you're a fucking stalker. You're stalking me. Like, you're stalking her. He's like, no, you're a stalker. So he gets mad at me because I found out what he's doing on his off days, like in his free time. And so like that night or like the very next day, I swear he went private on his entire profile. And I check her account, her profile is also private, everything. I can't see the friends list anymore. I can't see the achievements anymore. Like, it's all privated. And also he blocked me. He was like, oh, I just met her through a game. I don't even know her in real life. Like, we don't know each other in person. I met her online. She, like, lives in Wisconsin or some shit. We don't live in Wisconsin. So I was like, okay, whatever. But I was obviously upset. I was like, why don't you make me a friend then? If you don't know this girl, why is it so hard for you to friend me on Xbox too? Like, why don't you want to do that? But it's okay for her to be your friend on Xbox? Like, what the fuck? We would argue about that shit all the time. Just me constantly demanding to know why I'm not his friend on Xbox, why this girl that he supposedly doesn't even know gets to be his friend and I don't. And like, the whole time I know there's something going on between the two of them. I just don't have evidence. I don't have definitive proof yet. I mean, yes, his reaction and the way he's been very shady is very weird, but I don't have solid evidence, so I don't leave, which was stupid of me. I should have left. But I stuck around. I'm still snooping for more evidence. And then I look her up on other social media. I don't know why, but when I looked her up on other social media before, nothing ever came up. But one day, this fateful day, when I decided to look her up again, I find her here on TikTok. She's going by the same username and everything as she does online. So I'm going through her TikTok, okay? Her bio is literally our location, our city, our state. And her TikTok profile is just filled with videos and pictures of her and Matt together. I was like, oh my god, I fucking got you. Like, this is obviously your girlfriend. I start taking screenshots of everything and then I send her, I don't send her the DM yet, but I go back to mine and Matt's conversations together and I start screenshotting as much of that as possible because I know as soon as I alert this girl, she might like tell him and then he might start deleting evidence. So I start saving as much as I possibly can. And then I DM her. I sent her that hey girly DM. And then I was like, hey, your boyfriend, like he's cheating on you with me at work. We're coworkers. Like I know where he lives, blah, blah, blah. And then she wanted evidence as I thought she would. So we went to, we exchanged numbers and then over text, I sent her pictures of mine and Matt's conversations. And yeah, this bitch stayed with him. She got the proof and everything, and she still stayed with him. And I warned her. I was like, girl, you can have him. Like, you don't ever have to worry about me. Like, I do not want this man. I literally went no contact with him. I blocked him on everything. I quit my job. I never set foot back inside that place. She was like, will you let me know if he tries reaching out to you again? I was like, girl. 2 months later, he fucking did. He tried reaching out to me on Xbox, the one place I forgot to block him. He sent me a DM. He was like, hey, Cindy, can we talk? I literally read it, deleted it, and blocked him. But I did not tell his girlfriend he tried reaching out to me again because, like, I wanted nothing to do with it at that point. I wanted to be done and over with this. So, Megan, if you're watching this, yeah, he did try reaching out to me again. And I warned this girl, I warned Megan, I was like, dude, when the dust settles, you know, he's gonna do this to you again. He's gonna cheat on you again. You know, work is his hunting grounds. That's where he can find victims where you will never find out about. And I only found out because I'm a stubborn bitch and I'm nosy and I'm a fucking detective. Of course I was gonna find out, but probably no one in the future is gonna do this. So this is probably not gonna happen again, so just be forewarned. You're going to be cheated on again, and it's going to be 100 times harder for you to find out next time. So, yeah, she stayed with him, and then several months go by, and I still keep in contact with old friends and coworkers from that place. Matt still works there. I do not, but my old coworkers are updating me. They're like, girl, he's like cheating on that girlfriend of his again. Like, he's got new side pieces at work now. And I was like, what the fuck did I say? Narcissists don't change. He is cheating on Megan again. And he always will. It will be a cycle that will always continue forever. But that's my story of how I found out that I was being played the entire time. If you watch my previous parts, you know that I was with Matt for almost 3 years. And the whole entire time, Megan existed. They actually started dating a whole year before Matt and I even met. So yeah, wild how the entire time I could think that I was the main girl and everything, and the entire time I was just really the side piece.
My husband slept with a sex worker. Recently, I found out my husband, who is 33, had sex with a hooker last year. It was 2 weeks after I gave birth to our third child. He told me he had a client meeting, but that was a lie. He kissed me and our kids goodbye and drove to the airport to pick up the sex worker he flew out, and then took her to a hotel. They made a sex tape, and he told me the whole point of this was to sell the sex tape to help make some money for us. The girl did not know he was married with kids because he gave her a fake name and took his ring off and took the car seats out of the car. After this encounter, he then paid numerous times for her to send him pictures of herself and videos of herself. He told me the sex tape wasn't good, so he couldn't sell it, and he told me the girl was willing to send him pics for money, and the plan was to manage an account for her, and they make money together. Ultimately, no money was made, and it just ended being that he paid her money throughout this whole time. He says he loves me so much he's willing to have sex with someone for money, for me. It just feels like he convinced himself this was for us so that he wouldn't feel guilty cheating. Also, I saw messages between him and some random girl online that show him complimenting her and flirting with her, and asking to see her when she's in town, and telling her how he wants to take her out to dinner. He claims he meant nothing when he sent that stuff, and that it was just a distraction from work, and that he would have never met with her in real life. His explanation for all of this is that he is broken, and that he needs therapy, and that this isn't who he really is. I would like to hear people's thoughts on this. Is being broken a good excuse? Is it possible that he was really doing those things because he loves me?
I found out my fiance was cheating on me on our wedding day. Yeah, no, not a week before, not months before, like hours before I was supposed to walk down the aisle. And if you thought I was going to be the kind of girl that was going to hide in the corner and cry about it, just cancel the wedding, no, could not be me. I was going to make sure this man paid. So, let me tell you how I got my revenge. I wake up the morning of my wedding surprisingly calm, no cold feet, no crazy wedding jitters, until I check my phone. And that's when I see I have a DM on Instagram from an account that I don't follow. And at this point, I think my biggest concern of the day is whether my curls are gonna hold during the ceremony, but when I open this message, I realize my concerns are a lot bigger than that. The message from this random girl reads, "Hey, so sorry, didn't realize he was engaged, but thought you would want to know what your fiance did during his bachelor party." And there they are. There are literally almost 50 photos of my fiance and this girl kissing, looking like a couple, for tons of screenshots of texts between them laying out exactly what happened during his bachelor party, that they were spending that entire weekend together. I mean, the proof was irrefutable. He clearly cheated on me. And I'm not dumb. If he cheated on me like that on his bachelor party, he's definitely cheated before. I just haven't caught him. So I've realized that I didn't even know who I was marrying. I was marrying a total stranger. And this girl definitely lied when she said that she didn't know he was engaged, because one of the text messages said, there's no way that she's gonna find out, and this is my last taste of freedom. So yeah, she definitely knew he had a fiance and was about to get married. Why even lie? But whatever. My issue was with him, not with her, and I'm just glad that she told me before it was too late and I married the man. So I immediately go and show my best friend / maid of honor all of these messages, and she's shocked. She's angry and upset, and she's like, okay, what are we gonna do? What is the plan? Are we running right now? And I said, absolutely not. Give me my dress. It's time for me to put it on. And she is so confused because she assumed that I was gonna cancel the wedding, but no, that is not what I was gonna do. I sat her down and told her the plan that I had to get revenge on this man. And she was so in. I love her. So it's time for the ceremony. It's time for me to get married. And the ceremony space looks absolutely beautiful. Better than I could have ever imagined. It was my dream wedding, except obviously not my dream man. He is up there looking like he just stepped out of a magazine ad. I start walking down the aisle and he is crying. I'm like, okay, you little faker. I don't believe any emotion you've ever expressed to me in our lives. During my fiance's vows, I am trying so hard to keep it together. If I wouldn't have known he cheated, I would have been in tears. They were beautiful, but knowing what he did, it was just comical. He was talking about how much he loved me, how he would always protect my heart. He would always support me. We were a team. He would always be loyal to me. Okay, really? How is he standing there with a straight face saying this to me? But I keep it together. I just have a little soft smile on my face, like, the whole time. And I feel like he might have been a little confused why I wasn't crying, because I am a crier, but, you know, he wasn't too suspicious at this point. But then it was time for me to give my vows, and that's where the real fun started. I started off my vows by saying, babe, standing in front of you right now, about to say I do to become your wife, there aren't a lot of words to express what I'm feeling. So I thought it would be best if I showed you. And right then, from behind us, a screen lowered and the projector turned on to play a presentation that my maid of honor and I created while we were getting ready. Yeah, I think you know where this is going. I continued by saying, the reason I don't know what to say to you is because I don't know you. You're a stranger to me. I thought you were the love of my life, my soulmate, but really, you're just a pathological liar who almost forced me into a marriage while deceiving me. Who knows how many times you've cheated on me? And as I'm saying all of this, the photos and text messages that girl sent me were playing in the background. This man looked like he was going to projectile vomit everywhere. His family is all sobbing. My family is just shook. I told him I could choose to stand here and be devastated, but instead, I am so lucky I found out before it was too late, and I had a son with you and had to do everything in my power to make him turn out not just like you. I then turned to all the guests and say, and we're still gonna celebrate that because the food's already paid for, the open bar is paid for, so let's go celebrate. Turned to my fiance and said, yeah, not you, you're gonna go and never speak to me again, but the rest of us, we're gonna have a day. And I walked right down that aisle with all my bridesmaids following me. The guests were a little confused at first, but yeah, they ended up kind of following as well, and we all went to the reception, and I just pushed everything to the back, just pretended like everything was fine, because you know what? I didn't end up with that man, and I could have ended up marrying that man. Horrible. The next thing to decide is who I'm gonna go on the honeymoon with, and I'm kind of thinking his best friend. He's always had a thing for me.